In the early 1950s, the world's navies faced a crisis that threatened to end carrier aviation. Jets had arrived, sleek and powerful, but landing them on carriers was killing pilots at an alarming rate. Even in peacetime, carrier operations were claiming 20% of aircrew. The accident rate stood at 35 crashes per 10,000 landings. Night operations were 3 times deadlier. Something had to change, or the jet age at sea would be over before it truly began. The man who solved this deadly problem was not a famous admiral or a celebrity test pilot. He was a Royal Navy engineering officer named Nicholas Goodhart, and his solution came from the most unlikely place imaginable: his secretary's makeup compact. Nicholas Goodhart had seen death up close. In 1941, as a young engineering lieutenant aboard HMS Formidable, German dive bombers struck his carrier with 2,000-pound bombs during the evacuation of Crete. The explosions tore massive holes in the ship, causing fires, flooding, and horrific casualties. Goodhart survived that hell, then spent years escorting Malta convoys through constant combat. After the war, he became a test pilot, combining his engineering expertise with a pilot's perspective. He survived 5 serious air incidents during his career, including one terrifying moment when his aircraft's canopy imploded during a high-speed dive. He flew more than 50 different types of aircraft, but nothing prepared him for the challenge that would define his legacy. In the early 1950s, landing signal officers, who had guided pilots safely for 3 decades with colored paddles, simply couldn't keep up with jets screaming toward the deck at 110 knots. Jets approached so fast that pilots could only see paddle signals for the final second before touchdown. At those speeds, there simply wasn't time to see a signal, process it, react, and have the aircraft respond. The approach window had shrunk from 5 seconds to less than 1 second. The statistics were brutal. During one Korean War deployment in fall 1951, Air Group 5 lost 27 planes and 11 pilots. Just 3 months after one particularly catastrophic crash that killed 7 deck crew, the US Navy decided all future carriers would need angled flight decks. But even with angled decks, the landing problem remained unsolved. Breakthrough. The breakthrough came in Commander Goodhart's office in 1951. He had been wrestling with the carrier landing problem when his eyes fell on an everyday object: his secretary's concave compact makeup mirror lying on her desk. In that instant, he saw the solution. Goodhart asked to borrow the compact. Using his secretary's lipstick, he drew a horizontal centerline across the small mirror. He placed it at a fixed angle on his desk, then positioned a flashlight at the far end, shining toward the mirror. Walking toward the desk, he focused on keeping the light reflection positioned precisely on the lipstick line. Every single time, his chin touched down at the identical spot on the desk. The geometry was perfect. A constant glide path was maintained by keeping a reflection aligned with a reference line. The mirror was born from a woman's makeup compact and a tube of lipstick. The concept was elegant. Mount a large concave mirror, gyroscopically stabilized, on the port side of the flight deck. Shine a bright orange light into it, creating a visible ball. Flank the mirror with green datum lights as reference points. Approaching pilots would see the ball's position relative to the datum lights. If the ball was above the lights, the aircraft was too high. If the ball was below the lights, the aircraft was too low. When the ball was aligned with the lights, that was the perfect glide path. The gyroscopic stabilization compensated for the ship's pitch and roll, providing a constant approach path despite sea conditions. Where earlier paddle signals were visible only at the last moment, pilots could see this optical reference from a mile away or more. Instead of discrete signal corrections, it provided continuous guidance throughout the entire approach. The pilot flew what he saw, maintaining the ball position himself rather than interpreting and reacting to someone else's judgment. In 1953, the prototype was installed aboard HMS Illustrious for the first operational trials. Lieutenant Donald Engen of the US Navy on exchange assignment at the Empire Test Pilot School, was one of the first pilots to test the revolutionary system. On his first pass, someone forgot to turn on the main light source. Engen landed blind, catching the 4-wire through sheer skill. After lunch, they tried again, this time with the lights on. Engen was stunned by how easy it was. Over 2 days, he made 17 approaches and landings using the mirror system. It performed flawlessly. He estimated the mirror system increased the final landing approach time in a jet aircraft from 5 seconds to 20 seconds, quadrupling the margin for corrections. Most remarkably, he liked it because the pilot flew what he saw and did not have to rely on the judgment of another person. He immediately sent an enthusiastic report to Washington, saying the U.S. Navy should adopt this system as soon as possible. The Royal Navy introduced the Mirror Landing System Fleetwide in 1954. The U.S. Navy began operational testing aboard USS Bennington. In September 1955, something unexpected happened. Accident rates actually increased when the system was first introduced. The device had been designed with the belief that it could allow pilots to land without direction from the landing signal officer, called the LSO. Many expected technology to completely replace human judgment. When pilots attempted to use only the mirror's visual reference, crashes increased. Skeptics felt vindicated. Within the close-knit community of landing signal officers, some saw this as proof that 30 years of human expertise could not be replaced by lights and mirrors. But rather than abandon the innovation, the Navy pivoted to an integrated approach. The solution was to combine the optical landing system with landing signal officer guidance, not to replace those officers, but to augment them. Landing signal officers would remain on deck, providing final judgment and clear, authoritative signals to pilots as they used the optical aid during the final approach. Radio voice commands, monitoring approaches, and retaining authority to order wave-offs. The optical system would give pilots their own visual reference for the glide path. Together, technology and human expertise created something more powerful than either alone. From September to December 1955, pilots aboard USS Bennington completed 536 consecutive landings without incident using the integrated system. Day operations, night operations, different aircraft types, various sea conditions. The system performed flawlessly. When Commander Bob Dose made the first U.S. landing using the new system, his reaction captured what every pilot quickly discovered. Coming down the glide slope, maintaining the ball between the datum lights, he thought, how easy. Why did we not do this long ago? It is just natural. The natural quality was crucial. Pilots did not need extensive retraining. The concept was intuitive. Keep the orange ball aligned with the green light. Night operations, which had been terrifying with the old paddle system, became manageable. The illuminated ball provided clear guidance in darkness that no landing signal officer with paddles could match. By the end of 1955, just 3 months after successful trials, the mirror landing system was installed on all American aircraft carriers. The speed of this fleet-wide adoption was unprecedented in naval aviation history, reflecting both the system's proven effectiveness and the operational urgency. The statistical evidence was overwhelming. In 1954, before widespread adoption of the mirror system and angled deck, carrier landing accidents occurred at a rate of 35 per 10,000 landings. By 1957, with both innovations fully integrated, the rate had plummeted to 7 per 10,000 landings, an 80% reduction achieved in just 3 years. Over 68 years, from 1957 to 2025, conservative estimates suggest approximately 57,000 crashes were prevented in United States Navy operations alone. A conservative estimate suggests 5,000 to 6,000 American lives were saved. Adding the Royal Navy, the French Navy, and other carrier operating nations who adopted the system worldwide, The total lives saved globally likely exceeds 8 to 10,000 over 7 decades. Nicholas Goodhart rose to Rear Admiral and received the Companion of the Order of the Bath from Britain and the Legion of Merit from the United States for his invention. But recognition was never what drove him. He was a man who saw problems that needed solving and couldn't rest until he'd found solutions. Beyond his naval career, Goodhart became a world champion glider pilot. He won the World Two-Seater Gliding Championship in 1956 and the British Single-Seater Championship 3 times. In 1955, he set a British glider height record of 37,050 feet, a record that stood unbroken for 40 years. The mirror landing system didn't remain static. In the 1960s and the 1970s, engineers replaced the concave mirror with Fresnel lenses. By 1997, the improved Fresnel lens optical landing system was tested aboard USS George Washington. Since 2004, every deploying U.S. aircraft carrier has been equipped. But the fundamental principle remains exactly what Commander Goodhart demonstrated with his secretary's makeup mirror and lipstick in 1951. He created a gyroscopically stabilized optical reference that provides a constant glide path by keeping a light source aligned with a reference datum. From 1954 onward, mirror landing aids and derivatives using the same technique have been fitted to every aircraft carrier in the world, designed to operate fixed-wing aircraft. The ball, or meatball, has become so integral to carrier aviation culture that "call the ball" is the standard radio call every pilot makes on final approach. Every naval aviator knows what it means to fly the ball. When Rear Admiral Goodhart died on April 9, 2011, at age 91, obituaries celebrated a life of remarkable achievements. But inevitably, every obituary returned to that moment in 1951 when he borrowed his secretary's compact mirror and drew on it with her lipstick. That simple experiment had solved one of the most pressing problems in modern naval aviation. Today, when a fighter pilot approaches a carrier at night in heavy seas, when the deck is pitching and rolling beneath storm clouds, that pilot sees the orange meatball dancing between green lights. In the final seconds before touchdown, everything narrows to keeping that ball aligned, maintaining the perfect 3-degree glide slope. In that moment, repeated thousands of times every day across carrier decks worldwide, Commander Nicholas Goodhart is still bringing pilots home safely, one makeup mirror reflection at a time.